Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Shellie Geigle with J&S Hobbies and Crafts, and today's tutorial is on these easy quick mini notepads. These measure 3" by 4" and they're super easy to make, and they're a great gift or stocking stuffer. Inside you have the notepad, and these are designed to where you can just easily tear off a sheet. These are durable and they're excellent to make if you have a lot of scrap designer paper left in your stash. And I've made a bunch of these, and down the road I will be listing some stuff for sale, some mini notepads, some notebooks, maybe some albums and folios in the coming months. And I'll do a video when that comes out. But for this is easy and quick, and let's get into the materials list. So let's review the materials list for the little notepad. You'll want one sheet, and you'll want to use 65 pound of any color you want. And I'm using craft. And what you're going to want to do is cut this down to a 3" by 11" piece. And this is our base. And it does get covered up, so it really doesn't matter what color you want to use. You'll need at least a 6" wide piece of designer paper. I mixed and matched. I'm going to be doing 2 little notepads in this tutorial. So what you'll end up doing is just cutting these down to 3" by 11" pieces. So base, 2 pieces of your designer paper. And I have another one here. So one of these sheets you could use for 2 bases. You're definitely going to want score tape for this project. It's going to make it so much easier for you because we are scoring and we are bending around our base. And if you use glue, it may not stick down well enough to where you have gaps in your paper. So at least some score tape. You'll also want some glue, and I'm using the Art Glitter Dries Clear glue, and there's no glitter in that. And I'm using the metal tip with that, so I don't use too much glue. Now you're also going to need some 65-pound cardstock. I'm going to use white. You can use light colors like greens, yellows, whatever you can see when you're writing with a pen. If you're using the 8.5 by 11 65-pound, you'll need 6 or 7 sheets of this. And I will show you how to cut this to get the most out of your piece so you're not wasting anything for your little writing pad. In the end, we will have a stack like this that is no more than 3/8 wide. You're going to need some rubber cement, and this is what's going to bind this so that when it's dry, we can just tear off a piece without tearing our paper. You'll need 2 magnets to keep your notepad together. Here's one I have that's completed, and as you can see, here it is. It's in here. There's the magnet, and you can see that this is very easy to tear off. Other things that you can do is to embellish it. You can use gems, you can use scrap lace, you can use cut-aparts from maybe the papers that you're using, you can use stickles, and you can definitely use inks to ink around. And also, the reason why I like to use the 65-pound for this is in case I want to go and stamp on each one of these so it has a little something at the bottom, I can kind of make it more personalized. Equipment that you're going to need a scoring board, paper cutter, your bone folder, ruler, pencil, and your scissors. All right, let's get started. This is super easy and quick. For our notebook base on the cutting guide, I gave you some scoring measurements. And the first thing we're going to do is lay down our notebook base. And we're going to lay it so we are 11 inches across. We're going to score it 3 7/8, 4 3/8, 8 1/4, that's 8 1/4, and 8 3/4. And you can go ahead and fold, and when you're folding, make sure that the sides line up. We'll use our tool, and we're just folding one way here. So this is what we should have. Now it's said to have 2 pieces of 3 by 11 of our designer paper, and you can mix and match and do whatever it is you'd like. So on these, we're going to do the same thing we did on this. We're going to score at 3 7/8, 4 3/8, 8 1/4, and 8 3/4 on each one of these. Now we're going to go ahead and fold on this, and we're going to do that the same way. And we can if you have this turned around by the time you're ready to put it on, you can always fold it the other way. It's not going to hurt anything. One is going to be for the inside of our base, and the other is for the outside. So this is going to be for my outside. So the reason why I said in the cutting guide to wait and see is, as you can see, if this is the outside, you want to make sure that your piece isn't going to be upside down, because the smaller side is the little flap. Okay, so there's one. So here's this one, and I think I'm going to have that on the inside. I'm just going to fold towards myself, making sure these line up on the sides. Okay, find the piece that you want for the inside of your base. Okay, so this is going to be my inside, and keep track. I like to keep the smaller portion at the top because that's what's going to come over. So this is the inside. Let's grab our score tape. So the reason why I use score tape on this is because if I use glue and I'm folding and whatever, I can get gaps. So the first thing is you notice you have these 2 score lines. You're going to place a piece, and I'm using the 3/8 in between. So there, right in between, not on the score lines. And then you're going to make sure that you come right underneath that little score line, and we're going to get over here. Same thing. And that's because when we're folding, we want to make sure that it grabs. Now you can use glue on some of this other stuff, but these are some pretty important parts. So we're going to start here first. If we get any overhang, we can definitely clip that off. The next thing I'm going to do, so that when I am folding, make sure my sides don't gap, I'm going to lay a piece of score tape, and I'm going to just kind of come right on over to the side without going over as best I can. Now for the rest of this, you can use glue. I'm just going to put a piece of score tape right down the middle, and we're going to do the same thing here. We need to have it on the sides. And like I said, if you'd like to use your glue for the inside here, you can when we're ready to place our piece. I'm going to put one down the middle though. Okay, same thing up here. And in the end, what we can do is we can cut this when we're all done and this folds over. Once we have all our paper, we can trim this down to make a curve. Here's one to make a curve. Or we can make a point. We can do whatever it is that we would like to do. Now don't jump ahead and assemble to get your outside on, because there's a certain thing I'd like to show you on making it easier to line it up. We'll just take this one step at a time. So I'm going to give this a good burnishing, and then I'm going to inspect my piece to make sure I don't have anything hanging over like score tape, and I do. So I'm just going to clip it, get it all nice and cleaned up here. All right, pretty good. Once again, this is at the top. So now that we have this down, let's grab one of our magnets before we place this. My desk is just a mess right now. I have a bunch of these going on. Well, here they are. Okay, doesn't matter a plus or a minus, whatever you got going. I'm going to remove, this is the small side, so I'm going to get that up. And I'll just place this, come on down below my score tape in the middle there. The mate we'll put on top. Now before I do that, I'm going to show you what's going to happen. So if you were to take your piece, you want it to be flat. Okay, so if you hold it upright and it's flat on the bottom, you can use your table. You're going to bring this over to where this tucks in to this one. So what's going to happen is when we do this, it's going to end up being correct. Flat on the bottom, flat on the top. So I'm going to hold mine up so you can see. Hopefully I'll get this on correct. All I'm doing is placing a magnet. So I want to make sure that this is flat like it's on a table. Put it right in that groove and over. So you can see, make sure we line up. And I'll press that and then I can get that off there. So now I should latch. Now if it's easier for you to remove your score tape first at the bottom and go this way, you can. I have this done at the top. I'm just going to shoot a little glue in here. So small section, and I got this and I left that alone. So now I can line this up corner to corner. And if you don't get it on completely straight, we can trim when we're done. So all you're going to do is kind of follow the sides there. Okay, so you have that part down. So we're going to do this in little sections. The next one, I'm just going to line that up, make sure it comes even with the side of my craft cardstock. Okay, and I'm going to keep going down. I usually like to start at the bottom first, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to turn mine sideways here so I can see a little better. And I'm just making sure I'm keeping this part off the tape and lining it up with the side of my paper. Okay, and we'll keep going. Okay, keep going here, right along the side. And now we're going to give this all a good burnish. Now notice that you may see some brown cardstock or your craft or whatever your base was, and that's perfectly fine. We just want to make sure we get the sides and everything down really well, because we can trim this when we're all done. So now what we're going to do is fold on all our score lines again. Make sure we line up on the sides. So, and then what you can do is kind of push to make sure that that flattens out. And that's what you should have. It should look good. And that's why I use score tape around the edges as well as through here, so that it's a nice clean grab and I'm not fighting the glue. All right. So now what we need to do is get our paper on the outside. And for right now, I would like you to go ahead and latch this shut. Now this is going to be hidden. So my outside paper is going to be this, as you can see. Okay? So grab your ruler and your pencil right now. Here's the shorter side up here. Here's the longer side. You see where your score lines are? Place your ruler down so that you can now, right on that score line, use your pencil. You're not going to see this because this is the side that gets taped down. And you're going to do it up here. Okay, so you can see where mine are, the score lines. Grab your score tape, place one in between those lines, and you're going to want to try and get these lines, pencil lines, fairly straight. We're going to do the same thing we did before. You can still see my score line there. So above, below, get our piece. And then here we don't need to do pencil. We do need to get in between there though. This is these pencil lines I did here. That's just to help us to place this evenly on our base. All right, everything else is the same. I'm going to place score tape around the edges. And then I'm going to go one down the middle on mine, but you can use just glue if you want. But you'll definitely want to use the score tape around these edges. Okay, I have mine all on. I'm going to give this a good burnishing, and then I'm going to inspect. I'm going to turn it over. If I can see any score tape peeking over, or if I feel it, I'm going to trim it. Okay. Now I had you close this. Again, this is your top, the small part. Here's the top. You see where we did the pencil lines? The only score tape you're going to take off is that middle piece in between your two penciled score lines. You're going to set this upright. You'll line up the side of this with the side of your paper, and you will keep this in between the penciled score line. And that way, if you got it on straight, you can kind of make it go on straight. So when you're done, that should stand up for you. I'm going to bring this up so you can see where my pencil is. I got that on pretty straight. And then right back here is my other one. The back of this is right on that score line. Okay, now you can undo that. And we're going to, again, take this section by section so it doesn't get away from us. I'm going to remove the backing. I'm working with the larger piece here. And I'm going to shoot a little glue in here. Okay. Now we're going to take this and we're going to just kind of keep our hand under here so it doesn't get away. And we're going to line this up with the side the best we can and to the corner. Let's give that a good burnish right on that crease where we worked with. Okay. We're going to remove the score tape right here and here. There we go. And we're going to line it up over here. If you are left-handed, you may want to go over on this side first. But as you can see, I have my hand under here so it does not grab before I'm ready for it to grab. And I'm just getting it lined up with the side. And I'm going to burnish before I move on. Get those sides really good. Okay, let's remove the rest of the score tape. This is a small section. We'll be okay. Okay, same thing. Line it up with the side all the way up. And we'll burnish. Okay, here's a smaller. It's very, very stiff right now. And we're looking at the inside. There's my outside. And we're once again going to fold and line up our sides. Use our tool. Now, in the past when I taught how to do this, people said, well, do we actually need to have that inner piece? I like it because this is now so stiff and durable. I like to keep these in my purse. And when I throw something in my purse, there's so much stuff in my purse that could tear it, jab it, just to destroy it. And I like things that are going to last. I also keep one in the middle console in my car. Because they're so small, they fit anywhere. But I like to keep one in my purse. And like I said, what goes into my purse, you never know what's going to happen there. So now I have this together. And I'm just kind of forming it. And it should stand up for you. If it's falling over a little bit, that's fine. I mean, you can work this a little bit more. Here's a tip. Now, depending on the paper you're using or how hard you scored or whatever, if you get any, like at the corners where you feel that maybe the paper's starting to give shards or just anything or take coming up, what you can do to reinforce that, or you think that it might, is dab a little glue on that spot and just run your finger over it. And that'll help reinforce those edges. this dries clear, but you can do that, and that will prevent anything from kind of tearing up. All right, the next thing that I want to work on, now you can leave it like this, or like I said, we can curve it, or we can actually come at a point. So here's what I suggest doing, is grabbing your ruler. And don't worry about this. We can always trim anything that you would like to trim. Like down here, I could just trim it to make it even. But here's the small thing. So I'm just going to kind of lay, this is my outside paper. To get a curve, what you can do is measure up about 5/8. That's what I did with the other ones. And at the edge, put a little pencil mark on each side so that they're straight, even with each other, a little dot or whatever. Now what you can do is you can grab something curved, whether it be your score tape, and then you can just kind of draw. If your score tape's smaller like this, and you can just pull it up just a little bit more until you're kind of even. You see where my dot's here, my dot's here, and you can go like that, or use something larger, a plate, whatever you need to do. Just kind of draw. So I'm actually higher than 5/8 now. But that's okay, just a hair. So here, since my score tape, if my score tape was a larger roll, I'd be right on that mark, but it really doesn't matter. Then all you have to do is cut. As long as you're coming to the top part, and I'm cutting off the brown right now that I wanted to get rid of, the little cardstock that was peeking through. See? And then we have that. And now here's our curve. And that looks good. Here's another thing. If you got your paper on to where you can see some of that and you want to even it up, put it on your paper cutter and just take off minimal what's needed for the size. When I say minimal, I mean just a little teeny bit. Because remember, we're 3 inches here. Our notepad is going to be 2 7/8 width. So we're going to want something that's still going to fit in there without going on the outside. So don't take off too much. So while off camera, I got a second one ready to go because I'm going to have 2 of these to put together. Let's talk about if you are using the 8.5 by 11 for your inner writing pad inside your notepad, how you're going to cut this to get the most out of it. All right, so I'm going to be doing mine 3 at a time on my paper cutter. I'm just going to close that up, so this is all I need to work with. Just so you know, my blade is right here. So to get the most out of your paper, your first cut is going to be, and you'll want to have it long ways, at 3 7/8, or a little hair less, a 1/16 less, whatever you want to do there. But 3 7/8, and we're going to cut that again at 3 7/8, and I'm just kind of making sure that my paper is straight there. Okay, so right now we have these 2 that are cut at 3 7/8, and we have this left over. I want you to put that to the side. Now for these 2, we're going to turn them, and now we're going to go 2 7/8. We're going to go 2 7/8, and you'll have this leftover piece. You can just set that off to the side. We're going to do that again. Same thing, 2 7/8. And that leftover we're going to set off to the side. So far, with 3 sheets, we're able to get this thickness. Now let's talk about this piece that we had left over when we cut. We're not 3 7/8. What we're going to do is cut this now at 2 7/8, because right now we're quite a bit less. So we'll cut this now at 2 7/8. This is scrap. You can toss this or use it for something else. Next, we're going to turn this 3 7/8 and 3 7/8. Now, these ones that were oddball, that were not quite what we needed, these were just a hair short of being 2 7/8, but we are 3 7/8 here. Okay, this, what you can do is you do not have to have exactly 2 7/8. These leftover ones can be for a second pile for another one of these. Just because they're a hair off, they're still, if you pile these up, these leftovers, they'll be perfectly fine. Now, I've done 6 sheets here, and I am thick enough. I don't have to be exactly 3/8, okay? I'm a little over 1/4, and I'll just use that. Grab a scrap piece of cardstock or something to protect your work area. I'm going to be using this. This is where the rubber cement comes into play. And this one is old. I know the price isn't even this. This is like 5, 6 years old, and it still works. So what you're going to do is you're just going to pile these up straight. You're going to take some of this goop and you're going to get it right on up here. Now, your first and last sheet you'll probably be tearing off. But all we're trying to do is get this gummy stuff all up through here. And again, mine is very old and very clumpy, so, and it's a little discolored, but it comes out okay when I'm done. So I'm just going to get rid of the excess. Now I'm going to make sure it's pretty smooth on top. If you're working with a new bottle, you probably won't have as much gum as I do. Like I said, this thing's over 6 years old, and I actually need a new bottle of it because this stuff is old. So once you have that, and you know it's straight, and you've smoothed off the top, don't worry about this. You're going to be tearing it off anyway. You're just going to lay it down and let that dry. Here's my second one. I'm going to do this again. I'm going to get some of this, and I'm just going to goop it on here. I'm definitely going to be buying another one of these because this stuff is expired. It's old. Probably a little harder to work with. It's kind of a mess, to be honest. So that's why you want to protect your area. And once you got it on there, you're just going to try and smooth it off the top. I'm kind of curious to find out how much this stuff is. I'm going to smooth that out a little bit better. And the reason why we're smoothing it off the top to make sure it's smooth is because when this is all said and done and dry, we're actually going to be applying our glue to get that in our book. So now I am just going to let that dry. But one tip is if you plan on maybe stamping the bottom of each one of your pieces so that it's kind of decorated, so to say, your pad. You'll want to do it before you apply your adhesive. I'm going to set these off to the side, and I'm going to start working on my little decorating of my notepads. This one is from the Welcome Home Stamperia Welcome Home, and I do have some cut aparts that I can play around with to decorate this. You may want to use some, rhinestones or whatever you want to do to decorate. And this one was made with some leftover from the cozy winter. And I have a ton of different stuff here to show you. This was also done with the same paper. It's done easily just by using some cut aparts. Okay. And you can see how that, when it glues in pretty darn good. And then you just tear them out. You can also add things to the inside if you want. This was done with some, I think this is leftover Mente paper. But I'm going to show you some example of different things that you can do. This one was done with scrap pieces from my Stamperia Welcome Home projects. And it's just real simple. And I did add stickles to this just to kind of bring it forward a little bit. Here's one. This is left over from the Vintage Library, Stamperia Vintage Library. And here's a cut apart, one of the sentiments. And on the inside, I kind of put the owl, one of the cut aparts. Another leftover from a Mente paper pack. And this one, same thing. Just left over from some of the Stamperia paper packs I did. Okay, so this one is the Cozy Winter, and I found some cut aparts, and I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do here. I'm going to do this one very simple. I have these two pieces, and I'm going to glue down. These are just some ideas or inspiration, so you know, if you don't want to use lace or anything like that, you can use stuff from the paper pack. I have some back behind there. And the idea of this is just to have it kind of poke out from the side. And now I'll just glue this down. You can grab sentiments, you can do whatever it is you like. Here's something, I'm not sure where this came from, but I thought this would work. So anything goes on these. And then I have some 1/4-inch rhinestones. And I'm just going to put it right there. Now you can ink around your edges. I did ink around the edges of all this. Show you how simple this is, give you some ideas. Working with paper packs. And just wanting to use maybe some miscellaneous. You don't even have to use this little rhinestone type deal in your stuff. It would have been perfectly fine without that. It looked good. So my cover on this is finished. That's how quick and easy these are. Now on this one, this is from the Welcome Home, and I do have some cut aparts that I grabbed, and I'm not sure what I want to use. That would be pretty. And maybe a butterfly. But I do want to use some lace, so I'm going to show you. And I have my fabric tack here. You can use regular glue for that. And I don't want anything real bulky because I'm going to be using this. I'm going to run that right there. I've got some lace in the background there. And I'm going to use this. It's going on top of the lace. But just different ideas like I showed you and some of the other ones. And you don't have to be real fancy. And that's going to need to dry. Now on the inside, if you want to put something, because our notepad's going to be here, if you want to put something down here, maybe a saying, you can. I'm going to glue this down. This is also from that paper pack. So that's on the inside. I'm going to close that up, and I'm going to let that dry. You can also do like stickles on some of these other. So I'm back. My stickles are pretty much dry here. And most importantly, this. So when you take this off, you are going to leave the last sheet down on each one. Those are generally the messiest. The top sheet you're going to tear off so you have a nice clean edge. I'm going to put this out of the way here. Okay, so you're going to need your glue. Let's get that really quick. And this is the side that I had the rubber cement on. We're going to go ahead and put a thick line of glue right down the middle. Use our finger and spread it out evenly to cover that. Now any leftover little cuttings that you had from cutting your paper will come in handy now. Let's open this up. Here's the top part. What you're going to do is just place that right underneath that score line and get that in centered between the two. Then what you're going to do is place a finger here, pull this up until it meets it, and we're just going to hold it there for a minute. And I'm going to take a look to make sure I'm straight in there. I look pretty straight. So we're just going to hold it for a minute. After a few moments, what you're going to do is you can use these little things to take a look here. Is there any glue that is seeping up through here? You can wipe it off or on the sides. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this up when I know all the glue is not seeping out, and I'm going to put this upside down, okay? and let gravity do what it needs to do. Now, if it doesn't stand up straight for you like that, that's fine. If it falls over, it's just a little notepad. Stand them up and let gravity do its thing. Now, if you're having a hard time, grab something and just set it up next to it. And we're going to let that sit upside down for about 30 minutes. So I'll be back in about 30 minutes and show you. So it's time to check on this. While I was waiting on this, I actually did another one here. I'm waiting for some stickles to dry. I have another notepad going on. Let's check it. It's been about 30 minutes. So when you open this up, it should be glued in to where you can go like this, and it does not detach from the top of this little thing here. Let's check this one. And it's staying in really good. So if you have any glue residue, just tear off that piece. But I think those came out super cute. I'm going to zoom in here a bit, and the stickles are dried. And again, you should be able to go like this, and it's in there pretty good. And this one I had some stickles. And that's in too. So I'm going to just kind of bring these back out for some inspiration again, show you what all I did. So that is all of them so far, except for this one, of course. This one is still drying. And this one was made with the same paper that I used for this and some other stuff there. But I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. They're super easy and great for scrap pieces left over from paper packs that you had just sitting there. Happy crafting, everybody, and I'll see you on my next video. And I am going to be trying to get out some more videos that are shorter projects and useful, like the notebook was useful, this was useful, and I want to reteach, and I've done these before, they just kind of, these videos have gotten buried. But I want to show you something that I want to teach how to make again. And this is the stationery gift box. And the lid comes off. This comes down. There's another notepad. So if you have gone out and buy this and you've done a bunch of your notepads that you need, you can use it for this too, because we'll be doing a little notepad inside this. And then like there's pockets here, and the idea of these are to make a stationery set. So maybe some smaller gift cards, maybe they could use a cut apart and just glue that on or tape it, however they want to do, with a little message inside. And they fit up here, and here's another one. And I have some smaller ones in here and some of the sentiments from this paper pack. And I'm going to take this out. So there's two good-sized pockets. And then here is where you build some cards. And you place it in there so that they can go in here, they can grab this, but you have it all set up and ready for whomever. You know, and you can give them some extra panels to place on cardstock. But it's just a little stationery gift set. So I'm going to reteach you on how to make that. I made it years ago. And it's time to bring it back around, because these are useful gifts that you can be making for Christmas. And it also has a little pencil holder in here. So they can keep their pencil in here that they want to use. And it just all goes back. And the lid. So I'll see you real soon on my next video. Happy crafting.